Don't move. Don't look up. Just listen." Sophia Reynolds kept her voice steady despite the terror clawing at her throat. She leaned forward with practiced grace, appearing to any observer like she was simply pouring water for the restaurant's most intimidating guest. "Without your subscription, we might never meet again. Follow, comment, and share right now. Don't risk it. Let's start the tale." Gabriel Conti, heir to the Conti Empire and the city's most feared businessman, froze at her whisper. His dark eyes narrowed beneath sculpted brows, but he didn't turn. Years of dangerous dealings had taught him when to listen. "The men at table 7 have guns," she continued, her lips barely moving as she placed fresh bread on his table. "I overheard them. They're waiting for you to leave, something about making it look like a random mugging." For 3 agonizing seconds, he said nothing. Sophia's hand trembled slightly, causing the water to ripple in the crystal glass. She'd spent 6 months working at Donatello's, the city's most exclusive restaurant, perfecting the art of invisibility among the wealthy elite who frequented it. Now she'd shattered that carefully constructed anonymity with 3 sentences. "And why?" he finally murmured, casually unfolding his napkin. "Would a waitress risk her life to warn me?" The question struck her like a physical blow. Why indeed? Gabriel Conti represented everything she despised: wealth built on suffering, power maintained through fear. The whispers about his family's connections to organized crime weren't just rumors. They were facts carefully obscured behind legitimate businesses and political donations. "Because I don't want to see anyone die tonight," she answered, the half-truth bitter on her tongue. "Not even you." A ghost of a smile touched his lips as he reached for his water glass, his platinum watch catching the light. "What's your name?" "Sophia." No last name, that was one secret she wouldn't surrender. "Well, Sophia," he said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, "I find myself in your debt. An unusual position for me." She felt a chill race down her spine. Being noticed by Gabriel Conti was dangerous. Being owed by him, potentially fatal. "No debt," she replied quickly. "Just be careful leaving." As she turned to walk away, his hand caught her wrist, the touch sending an unwelcome jolt through her body. His grip was gentle but impossible to break, his skin warm against hers. "They've seen you talking to me," he said, dark eyes assessing her with unnerving intensity. "You've made yourself a target." The realization hit her with sickening clarity. She'd acted on instinct, unable to stand by and watch a murder, even of someone like him. But she hadn't thought through the consequences. If these men were connected enough to know Conti's schedule, they'd certainly notice the waitress who'd spent too long at his table. "I'll be fine," she insisted, pulse racing beneath his fingers. "No." Gabriel released her wrist and smoothly stood, towering over her slender frame. Despite her heels, she still had to tilt her head back to meet his gaze. "You won't." With practiced ease, he reached into his suit jacket and extracted a slim phone. "Anthony, situation at Donatello's, table 7, and I need an extraction for 2. Sophia's eyes widened in alarm. "2? No, I don't need—" "Not negotiable," he cut her off, his tone brooking no argument. "You've just saved my life. Allow me to return the favor." Before she could protest further, the maitre d' approached, his expression carefully neutral despite the obvious tension. "Mr. Conti, Chef Marcello insists you try his special preparation in the private dining room." A code, Sophia realized. The restaurant staff were clearly accustomed to handling Conti's security concerns. "Perfect," Gabriel replied smoothly, dropping several large bills on the table. "My companion will join me." "Sir, I'm working. I can't just—" "You can and you will," he replied, his tone making it clear this wasn't a request. His hand moved to the small of her back, guiding her firmly but gently toward the rear of the restaurant. "Your shift has ended early. A family emergency." As they walked, she noticed his eyes scanning constantly, cataloging every face, every movement. The men at table 7 were watching now, their casual poses unable to mask the predatory tension in their shoulders. "Who are they?" she whispered. "Rivals or former allies?" "Often the same thing in my world." His voice was detached, as if discussing a mildly interesting business proposal rather than an attempt on his life. The private dining room was opulent, with rich mahogany paneling and a single table set with crystal and silver. But Gabriel bypassed it entirely, heading straight for an unmarked door at the back. "Wait!" Sophia planted her feet, forcing him to stop. "I appreciate the concern, but I'm not going anywhere with you. I have a life, responsibilities. I can't just disappear." For a moment, something like respect flickered in his dark eyes. "I admire your courage, Sophia, but you don't understand the danger. These people don't leave loose ends. I'm nobody. A waitress they won't even remember tomorrow." His laugh was short and without humor. "You think the shy waitress who whispered in Gabriel Conti's ear and then walked out with him won't be remembered? You're many things, Sophia, but forgettable isn't one of them." The compliment caught her off guard, warmth rising unbidden to her cheeks. She pushed the reaction away, focusing on the danger at hand. "One night," he continued, his voice softening slightly. "Stay somewhere safe tonight. Tomorrow, when this is handled, you can return to your life." The door behind them opened before she could respond, revealing a broad-shouldered man with a military bearing. "Car's ready, boss. 2 subjects at the target table are armed. 3rd by the bar watching the front entrance." "And the kitchen exit?" Gabriel asked. "Clear, for now." Sophia felt the world tilting beneath her. This was real. People with guns were waiting to kill the man beside her, and now possibly her too. Her simple life had shattered in the space of 5 minutes. "Tick-tock, Sophia," Gabriel said quietly. "Trust me, or take your chances with them. Your choice. Trust a notorious crime boss or face armed killers alone. Some choice." "Fine. One night," she conceded, hating the tremor in her voice. His smile was victorious but tinged with something else. Genuine relief? No, that couldn't be right. Men like Gabriel Conti didn't care about waitresses. Wise decision. He guided her through the door, into a narrow hallway that led to the restaurant's loading area. A sleek black SUV with tinted windows idled nearby, another suited man standing beside it. Gabriel helped her into the vehicle before sliding in beside her. The interior was luxurious leather, the air heavy with his expensive cologne. "Where are we going?" she asked as the car pulled smoothly into traffic. "Somewhere safe," was all he said, his attention on his phone. Sophia stared out the window as familiar streets gave way to the exclusive neighborhoods she usually only saw in magazines. What had she gotten herself into? And more importantly, how would she get out? Little did she know that this night would unravel secrets buried for 23 years. Secrets that would bind her to the dangerous man beside her in ways neither could imagine. Dawn broke over the city skyline, painting Gabriel's penthouse in hues of gold and amber. Sophia stood at the wall-to-wall windows, watching the city awaken 40 floors below. She'd barely slept, despite the luxurious guest room that was larger than her entire apartment. The events of the previous night still seemed surreal. The whispered warning, the hasty escape, the tense car ride through the city to this fortress in the sky. Gabriel had been surprisingly respectful, showing her to a guest suite before disappearing into what she assumed was his office for a series of tense phone calls. "Coffee?" She turned to find him watching her from the doorway, 2 steaming mugs in his hands. Gone was the immaculate suit, replaced by dark jeans and a simple gray Henley that did little to disguise his powerful build. The casual attire humanized him in a way that was more unsettling than his intimidating business persona. "Thank you," she said, accepting the offered mug. The ceramic was warm against her fingers, grounding her in the moment. "Did you sleep?" he asked, coming to stand beside her at the window. In the morning light, she could see the faint lines of fatigue around his eyes. "Not really." She sipped the coffee, surprised to find it perfectly prepared. Just a touch of cream, no sugar. "How did you know how I take my coffee?" A half smile played at his lips. "I noticed details, occupational necessity." The reminder of exactly who he was, what he was, sent a chill through her. She'd grown up hearing the Conti name whispered in fear. Their legitimate businesses were just the veneer covering more lucrative enterprises, protection rackets, gambling, smuggling, and worse. "Your men," she began carefully. "Did they handle the situation?" Gabriel studied her face, as if measuring how much truth she could bear. The immediate threat has been neutralized, but questions remain. Someone sent those men. I need to know who. Neutralized. Such a clean word for what she suspected was brutal violence. Sophia turned back to the window, unable to meet his gaze. You're judging me, he observed, no accusation in his tone. That's fair, but understand this. In my world, mercy to enemies is cruelty to friends. Those men came to kill me. Should I have invited them to breakfast instead? I'm not naive, she replied. I don't like being involved in this. And yet here you are. He moved closer, his reflection appearing beside hers in the glass. Why did you warn me, Sophia? The truth this time. She tensed, weighing her options. The partial truth would have to suffice. My father was killed in front of me when I was 8, she said quietly. A random mugging that was anything but random. I couldn't just stand by and let someone else die that way. Even you. Something flickered across his face. Surprise, followed by what might have been sympathy. I'm sorry about your father. It was a long time ago. 15 years. Yet the memory remained razor sharp, her father's blood staining the sidewalk, his whispered final words. Remember who you are. What was his name? Gabriel asked. The question startled her. It seemed oddly personal coming from him. Thomas Reynolds. If she'd been watching more closely, she might have caught the momentary stillness that came over Gabriel, the slight narrowing of his eyes at the name. And your mother? She died when I was born, Sophia replied, uncomfortable with his sudden interest in her family. Look, I should go. You said one night and it's morning now. I have a shift at my other job at noon. Other job? He raised an eyebrow. I work at the city library 3 days a week. Waitressing doesn't pay all the bills. She set down the coffee mug on a nearby table. Thank you for your protection, but I need to get back to my life. Gabriel moved to block her path, not threatening but unmistakably present. Those men saw your face, Sophia. They know you warned me. Until I discover who sent them, you remain in danger. I can take care of myself, she insisted, though her voice lacked conviction even to her own ears. I've been doing it since I was 8. Admirable but unnecessary in this case. His tone softened, becoming almost persuasive. Let me help you. Consider it repayment for last night. I don't want anything from you. The words came out sharper than intended. Because of what I am? The question was blunt, his dark eyes challenging. Because I don't want to be owned by anyone, she countered, especially someone like you. Instead of taking offense, he laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face, revealing a glimpse of who he might have been in another life. Someone like me? You don't know me, Sophia Reynolds. I know enough. She crossed her arms, attempting to reclaim some control of the situation. Your family has run this city's underworld for generations. True. He conceded the point with an elegant shrug. Though these days we prefer the term alternative business network. Despite herself, Sophia felt her lips twitch at his deadpan delivery. She immediately suppressed the reaction, angry at herself for finding anything about this man amusing. Gabriel noticed, his eyes warming slightly. A smile. Progress. He stepped aside, no longer blocking her path. You're free to leave whenever you wish. I won't force you to stay. The sudden capitulation caught her off guard. Just like that? Just like that. I'm not in the habit of holding women against their will. He walked to a sleek console table and opened a drawer, extracting a small card and a phone. But I would ask that you take these. He approached, offering them to her. The card contained only a phone number. No name. The phone was a latest model smartphone, slim and expensive. The number connects directly to me, he explained. The phone is secure and untraceable. If you sense any danger, anything at all, call. Sophia hesitated before accepting them. Why do you care what happens to me? I'm just a waitress who overheard something. Something unreadable passed across his features. Perhaps I'm tired of seeing innocent people caught in crossfires. Before she could respond, the elevator doors opened, and a striking woman in her 50s entered. Despite the early hour, she was impeccably dressed in a tailored suit. her dark hair streaked with elegant silver at the temples. "Gabriel," she called, then stopped short at the sight of Sophia. "I didn't realize you had company." "Marta." Gabriel's posture shifted subtly, becoming more formal. "You're early." Clearly, the woman's assessing gaze moved over Sophia, taking in her borrowed clothes, a t-shirt and sweatpants from Gabriel's collection, both comically oversized on her slender frame. "And who is this?" Gabriel gestured between them. "Sophia, this is Marta Vega, my head of security and longtime family friend. Marta, this is Sophia Reynolds. She prevented an unfortunate incident last night at Donatello's." Understanding dawned in Marta's eyes, followed by something that might have been suspicion. "Reynolds?" Sophia nodded, uncomfortable under the woman's scrutiny. There was something unnervingly familiar about her, though she was certain they'd never met. "Sophia was just leaving," Gabriel continued smoothly. "Would you arrange for a car?" "Of course." Marta's professional mask slipped back into place. "Ms. Reynolds, if you'll come with me, I'll help you collect your things." "I don't have any things," Sophia replied. "Just what I'm wearing." Gabriel frowned. "Your uniform from last night is still at the restaurant, I assume?" Sophia shrugged. "I'll pick it up before my shift tomorrow." "At least let me provide you with something more appropriate to wear home," he insisted, glancing at the oversized clothes drowning her slender frame. "Gabriel," Marta interrupted, "we have that pressing matter to discuss, the one concerning Anton." At the name, Gabriel's expression hardened. "Of course. Sophia, if you'll excuse me for a moment, Marta will help you find something suitable to wear." He disappeared down a hallway, leaving Sophia alone with the intimidating woman. For several uncomfortable seconds, Marta simply studied her, as if memorizing every detail. "You have your father's eyes," she finally said, so quietly Sophia almost missed it. "Excuse me?" Sophia felt her heart skip a beat. "Did you know my father?" Marta's expression became carefully neutral. "I know many people in this city. Come, let's find you something to wear." She led Sophia to what appeared to be a guest bedroom, opening a closet to reveal women's clothing in various sizes, all with designer labels still attached. "Does Gabriel often have women staying over?" Sophia asked, unable to keep the judgment from her voice as she surveyed the ready supply of women's clothing. Marta's lips twitched with what might have been amusement. "These are kept for security purposes. Sometimes associates need to change quickly or require disguises." She selected a simple blue sundress. "This should fit you." Sophia accepted the dress, still unsettled by Marta's earlier comment. "What did you mean about my father's eyes?" "Nothing of consequence." Marta moved toward the door. "I'll give you privacy to change." "Wait!" Sophia stepped forward, blocking her path. Despite being several inches shorter, she stood her ground. "If you knew my father, I deserve to know how." Something like respect flickered in Marta's eyes. "You have his spine as well. But this isn't the time or place for that conversation, Ms. Reynolds." "Then when and where is?" Marta studied her for a long moment before reaching into her pocket and extracting a business card. Unlike Gabriel's plain one, this featured an embossed logo, a stylized V intertwined with what looked like a serpent. "My private number," she said, offering the card. "If you truly want answers about Thomas Reynolds, call me in 3 days. Not before." Sophia took the card, confusion and suspicion warring within her. "Why 3 days?" "Because by then, Gabriel will have discovered who tried to kill him last night." Marta's expression was grim. "And you'll need to decide which side you're on." With that cryptic statement, she left, closing the door behind her. Sophia stared at the card in her hand, her mind racing. First Gabriel's strange interest in her father, now Marta's comments. Something wasn't right. These people shouldn't know Thomas Reynolds. He'd been a professor of classical literature, not someone who would move in circles with the Conti family, unless everything she'd been told about her father was a lie. She changed quickly, the designer dress fitting as if made for her. When she emerged, she found Gabriel waiting in the living room, his expression troubled. "Is everything all right?" she asked, surprising herself with the question. Why should she care about his problems? He seemed equally surprised by her concern. Just business complications. The car is waiting downstairs. He approached, stopping at a respectable distance. I meant what I said, Sophia. Call if you need anything. I won't, she replied automatically, then softened her tone. But thank you. As the elevator doors closed between them, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end of their connection, but rather the beginning of something far more complicated than either of them realized. 3 days passed in a blur of routine, shelving books at the library, serving overpriced meals to entitled patrons at Donatello's, collapsing into her tiny studio apartment at night. Sophia had almost convinced herself that the entire incident with Gabriel Conti had been some bizarre dream. Almost. The secure phone sat charging on her nightstand, a tangible reminder that it had all been real. Beside it lay Marta Vega's business card, the embossed logo catching the light each time Sophia glanced at it. If you truly want answers about Thomas Reynolds, call me in 3 days. Today marked the 3rd day. Sophia had spent sleepless nights debating whether to make the call. Did she really want to unravel the carefully constructed narrative of her childhood? Her father had been a professor, beloved by students and colleagues alike. The random mugging that took his life had been a tragic case of wrong place, wrong time, or so the police had claimed. Yet something had always felt off about the official story. The way certain family friends had appeared to handle arrangements after his death, the generous trust fund that materialized to pay for her education, the whispered conversations that stopped whenever she entered a room as a child. The knock at her door jolted her from these thoughts. Sophia froze. No one ever visited her apartment. She had no close friends in the city, and her neighbors kept to themselves in the way of urban dwellers everywhere. The knock came again, more insistent. Moving silently to the door, she peered through the peephole, then stumbled back in shock. Gabriel Conti stood in her hallway, looking oddly out of place in the dingy surroundings of her apartment building. Sophia, his voice came through the door. I know you're home. We need to talk. How did you find me? She demanded without opening the door. The same way I find anything I need to know, he replied, unapologetic. Open the door. Please. The please sounded like an afterthought, an unfamiliar word in his vocabulary. Sophia hesitated, weighing her options. If Gabriel wanted to harm her, a flimsy apartment door wouldn't stop him. I'm not leaving until we speak, he added. Your neighbor in 3B is already watching through her peephole. I'd rather not create a scene. With a resigned sigh, Sophia unlocked the door but left the chain attached, opening it the few inches allowed. What do you want? Gabriel looked even more imposing in the narrow corridor, his tailored suit a stark contrast to the peeling paint and scuffed floors. May I come in? This isn't a conversation for hallways. Are you alone? Yes. She closed the door to remove the chain, then reopened it fully, stepping back to allow him entry. Make it quick, I have work in an hour. Gabriel stepped inside, his gaze sweeping the tiny studio apartment in one efficient assessment. Sophia felt a flash of embarrassment at the modest surroundings, the futon that doubled as her bed, the kitchenette with its hot plate and mini fridge, the single window overlooking an air shaft. Everything she owned in the world contained in 400 square feet. You live here, he stated, something like disbelief in his tone. Not all of us have penthouses, she replied defensively, crossing her arms. What do you want, Gabriel? He turned to face her, his expression grave. I came to warn you. The men who tried to kill me, they were sent by my cousin, Anton. Your cousin? The revelation caught her off guard. Why would your own family want you dead? Power. Money. The usual reasons. Gabriel's tone was matter-of-fact, as if discussing an everyday business disagreement rather than a murder attempt. Anton believes he should be heading the Conti Enterprises. He's been systematically undermining my position for months. Sophia shook her head, struggling to understand the casual way he discussed such betrayal. And this concerns me how exactly? Anton knows you warned me. He's been asking questions about you, where you live, where you work. Gabriel's eyes held genuine concern. He's not someone who leaves loose ends. A chill ran through her. You led him straight to me by coming here. No. I made sure I wasn't followed. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. Sophia, you need to leave the city. Tonight. I can arrange transportation, a new identity, enough money to start fresh somewhere else. Leave? She stared at him in disbelief. This is my home. My life is here. What life? He challenged, gesturing around the sparse apartment. Working 2 jobs just to afford this place? No friends, no family, no connections? The accuracy of his assessment stung. You don't know anything about me. I know more than you think. His expression softened slightly. I know your father wasn't just a professor. I know he was murdered, not mugged. And I know you deserve the truth about who he really was. Sophia felt as though the floor had dropped from beneath her feet. What are you talking about? How would you know anything about my father? Gabriel hesitated, seeming to weigh his words carefully. Thomas Reynolds wasn't your father's real name. He was born Antonio Vassallo. He worked for my family before I was born until he disappeared 25 years ago. The name meant nothing to Sophia, yet it sent a tremor through her body. You're lying. My father was Thomas Reynolds. I have his birth certificate, his college diplomas. All carefully crafted forgeries. Gabriel interrupted gently. Excellent ones, but forgeries nonetheless. Why are you doing this? Sophia demanded, anger rising to mask her growing unease. Why come here with these lies? Because Anton has discovered who you really are. Gabriel's voice was deadly serious now. And that makes you infinitely more dangerous to him than a waitress who overheard a murder plot. Who I really am, Sophia echoed, the words feeling foreign on her tongue. And who is that exactly? Before Gabriel could answer, the window behind them shattered with an explosive crash. Sophia screamed as Gabriel tackled her to the floor, his body covering hers as glass rained down around them. Stay down, he ordered, his weight pressing her into the thin carpet. A metallic object clattered across the floor, a small cylinder that began spewing thick smoke almost immediately. Smoke grenade, Gabriel muttered, pulling a handgun from beneath his jacket. We have less than 2 minutes before they come through that door. Sophia's mind reeled with panic and confusion. Who? Anton's men? Most likely. Gabriel was already moving, pulling her toward the apartment door. Is there another way out of this building? Fire escape, she gasped through the thickening smoke, pointing toward the hallway. End of the corridor, through the window. He grabbed her hand, his grip firm as he led her into the hallway. The smoke was beginning to billow out of her apartment, setting off alarms. Doors opened along the corridor as confused residents peered out. Fire! Gabriel shouted, his authoritative voice sending people scrambling back into their apartments. Everyone stay inside and call 911. They raced to the end of the hall, Gabriel efficiently opening the window that led to the fire escape. He went first, then helped Sophia through, his strong hand steadying her as they began the descent down the rusty metal structure. My car is 2 blocks east, he said, eyes constantly scanning for threats. Stay close to me. Sophia's heart pounded painfully against her ribs as they reached the bottom of the fire escape and dropped into the alley below. In the distance, sirens wailed. Whether police or fire, she couldn't tell. Gabriel, she gasped as he pulled her into a run. What did you mean about who I really am? He glanced at her, conflict evident in his expression. Not now. We need to get somewhere safe first. They emerged from the alley onto a busy street, Gabriel immediately guiding her into the flow of pedestrians, his arm around her waist as if they were just another couple out for a walk. Despite the casual pose, Sophia could feel the tension in his body, the way his eyes continuously scanned their surroundings. There, he murmured, nodding toward a sleek black car parked halfway down the block. Act natural. They were 20 feet from the vehicle when Sophia spotted them, 3 men in dark suits moving purposefully through the crowd, their eyes locked on Gabriel. Gabriel, she whispered urgently. 3 men, 10 o'clock. He didn't break stride, but his hand moved to the small of her back, subtly guiding her to his other side, shielding her with his body. Keep walking. No matter what happens, get to the car. The driver will protect you. I'm not leaving you, she protested, surprising herself with the realization that she meant it. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Loyalty, Sophia? To a man like me? Before she could respond, the first attacker made his move. A burly man with a scar across his jaw lunged forward, something metallic glinting in his hand. Gabriel reacted with stunning speed, pushing Sophia out of harm's way while simultaneously deflecting the attack. His movements were fluid, practiced. Not the awkward brawling of street fights, but the precise technique of someone professionally trained in combat. The knife clattered to the sidewalk as Gabriel drove his elbow into his attacker's throat, dropping him to his knees. Pedestrians scattered, screams erupting as the violence exploded in the middle of the busy street. "Run!" Gabriel shouted at her, already engaging the second attacker. Sophia stumbled backward, conflict tearing at her. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but she couldn't abandon him. Not after he'd come to warn her, to protect her. The third attacker had circled behind Gabriel, who was occupied with fending off a flurry of blows from the second man. Without thinking, Sophia grabbed a discarded umbrella from a nearby cafe table and swung it with all her strength at the third man's head. The impact sent a jarring shock up her arms, but it had the desired effect. The man staggered, momentarily disoriented. Gabriel, hearing the commotion, spun in time to deliver a devastating punch to the man's temple, dropping him instantly. "I told you to run," Gabriel snapped, breathing heavily as he dispatched the second attacker with a brutal efficiency that left no doubt about his lethal training. "You're welcome," Sophia retorted, adrenaline making her voice steadier than she felt. A reluctant smile tugged at his lips. "Let's go before their backup arrives." They sprinted the remaining distance to the car, Gabriel yanking open the door and practically shoving her inside before sliding in after her. The driver, a stone-faced man with military bearing, pulled away from the curb before Gabriel had even closed the door. "Status report," Gabriel demanded, checking Sophia for injuries with gentle but efficient hands. "I'm fine," she insisted, though her whole body trembled with delayed shock. "Not you," he replied, though his relieved expression suggested he was glad to hear it. "Marcus? 2 more teams in the vicinity," the driver reported tersely. "East and north, switching to contingency route Bravo." Gabriel nodded, pulling out his phone and typing rapidly. "Safe House 3. Alert Marta to meet us there." Sophia watched the familiar streets of her neighborhood blur past the window, reality shifting beneath her like quicksand. Her apartment, everything she owned, gone in an instant. Her carefully constructed life in flames, literally and figuratively. "They tried to kill us," she said, the words sounding hollow to her own ears. "Your cousin's men tried to kill us." "Yes." Gabriel's response was simple, his attention split between his phone and the street behind them. "Because of who you think I am." It wasn't a question. This caught his full attention. His dark eyes met hers, unreadable and intense. "No, Sophia. Because of who you actually are." "And who is that?" she demanded, fatigue and fear making her voice sharp. Gabriel was silent for a long moment, studying her face as if searching for something. When he finally spoke, his voice was gentle, almost regretful. "Your father wasn't just an employee of my family. He was my father's most trusted advisor and closest friend." Gabriel paused, seeming to brace himself before continuing. "Antonio Vassallo was married to Elena Conti, my father's sister." The implications hit Sophia like a physical blow. "You're saying?" "Yes." Gabriel's eyes never left hers. "You're not just Sophia Reynolds, you're Sophia Vassallo Conti, my cousin, and according to my family's traditions, the true heir to everything the Conti family controls." The world seemed to tilt on its axis as Sophia struggled to process his words. Family traditions, heirs, a hidden identity, her entire life, a carefully constructed lie. "No," she whispered, shaking her head in denial. "That's not possible." "It is." Gabriel reached for her hand, which she instinctively withdrew. He didn't push, respecting her need for distance. "Your father fled with you when you were 3 years old after your mother was killed. Everyone believed you had died with her in the car accident. But Antonio, Thomas, managed to escape with you. Why?" The question escaped her lips, small and lost. Why would he leave? Why hide me? Gabriel's expression darkened. Because he believed your mother's death wasn't an accident, that she was murdered by someone inside the family. The car swerved suddenly, cutting down a narrow alley as Marcus muttered something about a tail. Sophia barely noticed, too consumed by the revelations shattering everything she thought she knew about herself. I don't believe you, she said, though the words lacked conviction. Deep down, something resonated with Gabriel's story, explaining the gaps in her childhood memories, the inconsistencies in her father's past, the strange sense of familiarity she'd felt with Marta Vega. You don't have to believe me, Gabriel replied quietly. Not yet, but believe this. Anton knows who you are now, and he will not stop until both of us are dead. Sophia stared at him, this dangerous man who claimed to be her family. Why would he want me dead? I know nothing about any of this. Because by Conti family law, established over a century ago, you outrank both Anton and me in succession. You are Elena Conti's only child, the direct bloodline. Gabriel's voice was grim. And Anton has spent the last 20 years ensuring his position as next in line after me. I don't want any of this, Sophia insisted, panic rising in her throat. I don't want your family, your money, your criminal empire. What you want doesn't matter to Anton, Gabriel said bluntly. Your existence alone is threat enough. The car turned sharply again, entering an underground parking garage beneath what appeared to be a luxury apartment building. As they descended into the shadows, Sophia felt as though she was descending into a new reality, one where she wasn't just Sophia Reynolds, orphaned waitress and librarian, but Sophia Vassallo Conti, hidden heir to a criminal dynasty. What happens now? She asked, her voice small in the darkness. Gabriel's hand found hers in the shadows, warm and unexpectedly reassuring. This time she didn't pull away. Now, he said softly, we find proof of who tried to kill your mother 20 years ago, because I suspect it's the same person who wants us both dead today. The Conti family protected your mother until someone betrayed her. That same someone likely arranged your father's mugging years later. The implication struck Sophia like a physical blow. You think whoever killed my mother also killed my father? After all those years? Anton discovered something recently, Marta interjected. Old records, perhaps, or a photograph. Something that made him start asking questions about Antonio Vassallo and his daughter. 3 weeks ago, Gabriel continued, he requested access to the sealed files on Elena's accident. A week later, men tried to kill me at Donatello's where you happened to be working. Coincidence? Sophia asked, already knowing the answer. I don't believe in coincidences, Gabriel replied. Especially not when they involve the same restaurant where your mother used to meet your father for lunch every Thursday. Sophia felt dizzy with the implications. You think Anton arranged for me to work there? That he's known who I am all along? Perhaps, Marta said. Or perhaps fate has a sense of irony. A heavy silence fell as Sophia tried to absorb the magnitude of these revelations. Everything she'd believed about herself, about her past, was built on carefully constructed lies. Lies meant to protect her, but lies nonetheless. What does Anton gain by killing us both? She finally asked. Everything, Gabriel replied simply. With both of us gone, he becomes the sole heir to the Conti empire. Over $2 billion in legitimate assets and considerably more in the shadows. The casual mention of such wealth made Sophia's head spin. And you? What do you gain from protecting me? Gabriel seemed taken aback by the question. You saved my life at the restaurant. Honor demands I return the favor. Honor among thieves? She challenged. A smile touched his lips, transforming his face from intimidating to almost boyish. We prefer businessmen with flexible ethics, remember? Despite everything, Sophia felt an answering smile tug at her lips. The absurdity of the situation, standing in a luxury apartment with a crime boss and his consigliere, discussing murder plots and family honor, struck her suddenly. This is insane, she repeated, but with less conviction than before. Welcome to the family business, Gabriel replied dryly. Marta cleared her throat. Speaking of business, we need to move quickly. Anton will be expecting us to run to hide. We need to do the opposite. Gabriel nodded, his expression turning serious once more. We need evidence linking him to the attempts on our lives, and ideally to Elena's death. How do we get that? Sophia asked, surprised to find herself including herself in their plans. We start with Elena's accident report, Marta suggested. The official police investigation. Gabriel shook his head. Anton has already accessed those files. If there was anything incriminating, he's removed it by now. Then we need someone who was there, Sophia said slowly. A memory surfacing from the fog of her early childhood. Someone who witnessed what happened. Both Gabriel and Marta turned to her with identical expressions of surprise. What do you remember? Gabriel asked carefully. Sophia closed her eyes, reaching for fragments buried deep in her subconscious. Not the accident itself, but after. At the funeral. A man arguing with my father. Tall, with a beard. He kept saying he knew what really happened, that he'd seen another car. Marco Ricci, Marta breathed, looking to Gabriel. Elena's driver. He was following her car that day, standard security protocol. Anton told me he died in a hunting accident a month after Elena, Gabriel said, frowning. That's what everyone was told, Marta agreed. But what if? You think he's alive? Sophia asked, hope kindling despite herself. It would explain why Antonio ran when he did, Marta mused. If Marco had witnessed something and warned him. Gabriel was already moving, retrieving his phone. I need to make some calls. If Marco Ricci is alive, someone in the old network will know. As he stepped away to make his calls, Marta approached Sophia, studying her with those penetrating eyes that seemed to see too much. You have questions, the older woman stated. Ask them while Gabriel is occupied. I'll be more candid than he will. Sophia hesitated, then decided on the most pressing concern. Gabriel and I, we're cousins? Second cousins, technically. His father and your mother were siblings. And in this family business, What does that make us to each other? Marta's lips curved in knowing amusement. Ah, you're asking if the attraction you feel is inappropriate. Sophia felt heat rise to her cheeks. I didn't say. You didn't have to. Marta's expression softened. The Conti family is traditional in many ways, but not in that. Second cousins have married in many cultures for centuries. Besides, Gabriel is not a blood Conti. His mother was outside the family. That's not... I wasn't asking about marriage, Sophia sputtered. Of course not, Marta agreed with mock seriousness. But to answer your unasked question, there is no familial impediment to whatever might develop between you two. Before Sophia could formulate a response to this unsettling statement, Gabriel returned, his expression grim. Marco Ricci is alive, he announced, living under the name Michael Reed in a small town upstate. My contact says he's been there for nearly 20 years, running a garage. How soon can we leave? Marta asked. Gabriel checked his watch. I've arranged for a car, but we have another problem. Anton has called an emergency council meeting for tonight. If I don't attend, it will confirm his accusations that I'm working against family interests. What accusations? Sophia asked. That I've been embezzling from family accounts, that I've made deals with rival organizations, that I'm unfit to lead. Gabriel's jaw tightened. All lies, but delivered with enough evidence to create doubt. Evidence he fabricated, Marta added. You can't go to that meeting, Sophia insisted, surprising herself with her vehemence. It's obviously a trap. Gabriel's expression softened as he looked at her. Your concern is noted, but I have to go. If I don't, I forfeit any claim to leadership, and Anton wins by default. Then I'll go with you, Sophia declared. Both Gabriel and Marta stared at her as if she'd suggested setting herself on fire. Absolutely not, Gabriel said flatly. It makes perfect sense, Sophia countered, warming to her improvised plan. You said I outrank both of you in succession. If I appear at this meeting, you'll be walking into a room full of people who have spent 20 years believing you're dead, Marta interrupted. People who may have been complicit in your mother's murder. Exactly, Sophia insisted. Whoever orchestrated all this won't be expecting me to show up openly. They'll be prepared for Gabriel to arrive alone, vulnerable. Gabriel studied her with newfound respect. You'd willingly walk into a nest of vipers to protect someone you barely know? Someone you believed was a criminal less than an hour ago? Sophia met his gaze steadily. I'd walk into a nest of vipers to find out who killed my parents. If that helps you stay alive in the process, consider it a bonus. A slow smile spread across his face, not the practiced charm he'd displayed at the restaurant, but something genuine and warm that transformed his features. You are definitely Elena's daughter, he said softly. The compliment affected Sophia more than she cared to admit. So we go together, to this council meeting. While I find Marco Ricci, Marta added, nodding slowly. It could work. The unexpected appearance of Elena's daughter would certainly throw Anton off balance. Gabriel still looked uncertain. It's too dangerous. More dangerous than having my apartment shot up? Or being attacked on a public street, Sophia challenged. I'm already in danger. At least this way I'm choosing the battlefield. Gabriel and Marta exchanged glances, the kind of wordless communication that comes from years of trust. She has a point, Marta conceded. She has no training, no protection, Gabriel countered. I have you, Sophia said simply. Those 3 words hung in the air between them, weighted with implications neither was ready to examine. Gabriel exhaled slowly. If we do this, and I'm not saying we will, you'll need to look the part. The council respects power, tradition. I can help with that, Marta offered. We're similar in size. And I have access to Elena's things in storage, including her jewelry. Sophia felt a strange thrill at the thought of wearing something that had belonged to the mother she couldn't remember. How much time do we have? Gabriel checked his watch again. 4 hours until the meeting. Then we'd better get started, Sophia said with more confidence than she felt. As Marta led her toward what appeared to be a guest bedroom, Sophia glanced back at Gabriel. He stood framed against the city skyline, phone in hand, his expression a complex mixture of concern and admiration. For a moment their eyes met, and something electric passed between them, a connection that transcended their newfound family ties, something that felt both dangerous and inevitable. Sophia turned away first, following Marta down the hallway. Tonight she would step into a world she'd never known existed, confronting people who might have murdered her parents and now wanted her dead as well. She should have been terrified. Instead, she felt strangely alive, as if she'd been sleepwalking through her life until Gabriel Conti crashed into it with his dangerous truth. The council meeting was held in an unexpected location, the private dining room of a small, unassuming Italian restaurant in the city's old quarter. As Gabriel's car pulled up to the curb, Sophia fought to control her nerves, smoothing imaginary wrinkles from the elegant black dress Marta had provided. "Second thoughts?" Gabriel asked quietly from beside her. In his impeccable suit and dark overcoat, he looked every inch the powerful businessman, or dangerous crime boss, depending on one's perspective. "About 50 of them," Sophia admitted, fiddling with the elegant emerald pendant at her throat, her mother's according to Marta. "But I'm still going in." Gabriel studied her for a moment, then reached across to still her nervous hands. "You don't have to do this, I can still face them alone." Sophia looked down at his hand covering hers, strong, warm, unexpectedly comforting. "Yes, I do. For my parents. And," she added, meeting his gaze directly, "for you." Something flickered in his eyes, surprise followed by something warmer. "Sophia, don't," she interrupted gently. "Don't try to talk me out of it again." A rueful smile touched his lips. "Actually, I was going to say thank you." "Oh." The simple sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. In their brief acquaintance, she'd seen many facets of Gabriel Conti, the arrogant businessman, the dangerous fighter, the strategic planner. This new vulnerability was perhaps the most disarming yet. "Ready?" he asked, squeezing her hand once before releasing it. Sophia took a deep breath, channeling every ounce of confidence she could muster. "Ready." The restaurant was dimly lit and smelled of garlic and aged wine. An elderly host greeted Gabriel with obvious deference, eyes widening slightly at the sight of Sophia before quickly schooling his features to professional neutrality. He led them through the main dining room where a handful of patrons enjoyed late dinners, seemingly unaware of the power gathering taking place in the back. "They've already arrived," Gabriel murmured as they approached a heavy wooden door at the rear of the restaurant. "Remember, let me do the talking initially. When I introduce you, just stay calm and observe their reactions." Sophia nodded, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Marta had briefed her on the 5 family heads she was about to meet, but it all felt abstract until this moment, standing on the threshold of her hidden heritage. The host opened the door, announcing in Italian, "Don Conti has arrived." As they stepped into the wood-paneled dining room, 5 pairs of eyes turned toward them. Sophia immediately recognized Anton from Gabriel's descriptions, a man in his early 40s with Gabriel's height, but none of his natural grace, his calculating eyes quickly registering shock at the sight of Sophia. "Apologies for my tardiness," Gabriel said smoothly, guiding Sophia forward with a light touch at the small of her back. "There was an unexpected development that required my attention." "What is this, Gabriel?" Anton demanded, recovering quickly. "Council meetings are closed. Who is this woman?" The other family heads, 2 older men and 2 middle-aged women, watched with expressions ranging from curiosity to suspicion. "I believe introductions are in order," Gabriel replied, his tone pleasant but authoritative. "Ladies and gentlemen of the council, may I present Sofia Vassallo Conti, daughter of Elena Conti and Antonio Vassallo." The reaction was immediate and dramatic. One of the older men, Salvatore Romano, Sophia recalled from Marta's briefing, actually crossed himself. The youngest woman, Lucia Calabresi, half rose from her seat in shock. "Impossible," Anton stated flatly, though Sophia didn't miss the flicker of genuine fear in his eyes. "Elena's daughter died with her 20 years ago. This is some trick." "No trick, cousin," Sophia said, speaking for the first time. The word cousin felt strange on her tongue, but she delivered it with all the confidence she could muster. "Though I understand your confusion. Until recently, I believed my name was Sophia Reynolds, daughter of Thomas Reynolds. This proves nothing, Anton insisted, turning to the others. Gabriel brings some random woman here, claims she's Elena's long-lost daughter. Convenient timing when his own position is under scrutiny. DNA testing can resolve this matter easily, offered the oldest woman, Vittoria Esposito, nearly 80 but sharp-eyed and regal in bearing. Already done, Gabriel countered smoothly. The results confirmed what I suspected when I first met Sophia. She is, without question, Elena's daughter. Sophia kept her expression neutral, though this was news to her. Gabriel hadn't mentioned any DNA test. Please sit. Salvatore Romano gestured to the two empty chairs at the long table. This meeting has clearly taken an unexpected turn. As they took their seats, Sophia felt Anton's gaze boring into her, calculating, assessing the threat she posed to his ambitions. You'll forgive my skepticism, the youngest man, Miguel Ferreira, said, studying Sophia intently. But Elena's child was reported dead. Antonio disappeared. Now, 20 years later, you appear just as questions about Gabriel's leadership arise. I understand your concerns, Sophia replied, drawing on a well of composure she hadn't known she possessed. Until 3 days ago, I had no knowledge of my true heritage. My father, Antonio, raised me as Sophia Reynolds to protect me. Protect you from what? Anton challenged. From whoever murdered my mother, Sophia answered, meeting his gaze directly. And later, my father. A heavy silence fell over the table. The 5 family heads exchanged glances laden with unspoken history. These are serious accusations, Vittoria Esposito said finally. Do you have evidence supporting them? We're gathering it now, Gabriel interjected smoothly. Which brings us to the real purpose of tonight's meeting. Anton has made accusations against my leadership, suggesting I've worked against family interests. With evidence, Anton added quickly. Financial records showing suspicious transfers. Meetings with the Kazakov organization without council approval. Fabricated evidence, Gabriel countered. Just as the evidence of Elena's accident was fabricated 20 years ago. Anton's face flushed with anger. You dare accuse me? I haven't accused anyone specifically, Gabriel cut in, his tone dangerously soft. Interesting that you immediately assumed I meant you, cousin. The tension in the room was palpable as the two men stared each other down. Sophia watched the other council members, noting their reactions. Salvatore and Vittoria, the elders, seemed troubled, but reserved in judgment. Lucia appeared openly suspicious of Anton, while Miguel maintained a careful neutrality. Perhaps, Vittoria suggested, her aged voice commanding immediate attention, we should postpone further discussion until this matter of identity and these serious accusations can be properly investigated. I agree, Lucia added quickly. If Sophia truly is Elena's daughter, this changes the succession discussions entirely. Anton slammed his fist on the table. This is exactly what Gabriel intended, to distract from his own betrayals by introducing this imposter. Careful, Anton, Gabriel warned, his voice deadly quiet. That's twice you've insulted my guest. There won't be a third time. Sophia felt the weight of history and power pressing down on her, generations of Conti family politics playing out around her. These people lived by codes and traditions she barely understood, yet somehow she was central to their power struggle. I didn't come here to disrupt your council, she said, finding her voice, nor to make claims on any position or inheritance. I came for truth, about my mother, my father, and why someone has tried to kill both Gabriel and me in the past week. Her words seemed to resonate with the elders, Vittoria nodding slightly in apparent approval of her directness. The girl speaks sense, Salvatore said. Old wounds have been reopened. Elena was beloved by all of us. If her daughter lives and if her death was no accident, the council must know the truth. I propose a compromise, Vittoria declared with the authority of her position as eldest. We will adjourn for 1 week to allow time for verification of Sophia's identity and investigation of these troubling claims. During this time, Gabriel will continue as acting head, but all major decisions will require full council approval. And if someone doesn't want us to find the truth, Sophia asked, glancing meaningfully at Anton. A week gives them time to eliminate evidence, or witnesses. A valid concern, Lucia acknowledged. Perhaps a gesture of good faith is required. All eyes turned to Anton, who had regained his composure, though a muscle ticked in his jaw. I have nothing to hide, he declared stiffly. Investigate whatever you wish. But when this charade is exposed, I expect Gabriel to face consequences for his false accusations. Agreed, Gabriel said without hesitation. And when Sophia's identity and my accusations are proven true, I expect the same standards applied to you, cousin. Vittoria clapped her hands once, the sound unexpectedly loud in the tense room. Then it's settled. We reconvene in 1 week. Until then, I suggest we all proceed with caution and respect for the Conti name we all serve. As the meeting adjourned, Sophia felt Anton's eyes on her again. When she met his gaze, she was struck by the naked hatred she saw there, barely concealed beneath a veneer of civility. Gabriel guided her from the room with a protective hand at her elbow. They walked in silence through the restaurant and out to the waiting car. That went better than expected, Gabriel said once they were safely inside the vehicle. And worse. Better because they didn't immediately reject me, Sophia surmised. Worse because now Anton knows exactly who I am and what threat I pose. Gabriel nodded, genuine admiration in his expression. You were remarkable in there. Like you'd been attending council meetings all your life. I was terrified, she admitted. Still am. Fear keeps you sharp, he replied, checking his phone. We haven't heard from Marta yet. She should have reached Marco Ricci by now. As if summoned by his words, the phone rang. Gabriel answered, putting it on speaker. I've found him. Marta's voice came through, tense and urgent. But we have a problem. Marco's house was watched. We managed to get out, but they followed us. We're headed to the fallback location now. Anton moved quickly, Gabriel murmured. Too quickly, Sophia added, a troubling thought occurring to her. How did he know to have Marco's house watched? We only discovered he was alive a few hours ago. Gabriel's expression darkened. Either he already knew Marco was alive, or someone told him we were looking, Marta finished through the phone. We may have a leak. The implications hung heavy in the car. Someone close to Gabriel might be working with Anton. Trust no one, Gabriel instructed. Get Marco to safety. We'll meet you at the fallback in 3 hours. After ending the call, Gabriel instructed his driver to take a circuitous route back to the safe house, checking repeatedly for tails. You think someone in your organization betrayed you? Sophia asked quietly. It's possible, Gabriel admitted, his expression grim. Anton has had years to cultivate allies, plant seeds of doubt about my leadership. What did he mean at the meeting? About financial records and meetings with some organization? Gabriel sighed, suddenly looking weary. The Kazakovs are a Russian organization that's been trying to move into our territory. Anton claims I've been meeting with them secretly, selling out family interests. And have you? No, he said firmly. But he's created evidence suggesting otherwise. Doctored photographs, falsified bank records, enough to create doubt. And doubt is all he needs, Sophia realized. Just enough uncertainty to justify a move against you. Gabriel nodded, impressed again by her quick understanding. Exactly. They rode in silence for several minutes, the city lights blurring past the windows as the car wound through increasingly unfamiliar streets. What did you mean about a DNA test? Sophia finally asked. You never mentioned taking my DNA. A hint of guilt crossed Gabriel's features. The coffee cup, that first morning at my penthouse. I had it tested after you left. You took my DNA without my knowledge or consent? Sophia's voice rose with indignation. I needed to be certain, Gabriel defended, though he had the grace to look somewhat abashed. Too much was at stake to rely on coincidence or resemblance. That's... Sophia stopped, taking a deep breath. You know what? After everything that's happened today, that's not even in my top 10 concerns right now. A surprised laugh escaped him, a genuine sound that transformed his face, making him look younger, more carefree. Your ability to adapt to impossible situations is remarkable, Sophia. Necessity, she replied with a wry smile. Apparently it runs in the family. Their eyes met, and something shifted in the atmosphere between them. A moment of connection that transcended the chaos surrounding them. For a heartbeat, they weren't reluctant allies in a dangerous game of family politics, but simply a man and woman drawn to each other against all logic. Gabriel broke the moment first, looking away with what seemed like reluctance. We should focus on reaching Marco safely. His testimony could be the key to everything. Sophia nodded, trying to ignore the lingering warmth in her chest. What exactly do you think he saw the day my mother died? I don't know, Gabriel admitted. But whatever it was frightened him enough to fake his own death and disappear for 20 years. Just like my father did with me, Sophia murmured. Your father was protecting you, Gabriel said gently. Marco was likely protecting himself. The car turned onto a narrow road leading into what appeared to be an industrial area, warehouses and manufacturing plants looming as dark shapes against the night sky. Where are we going? Sophia asked, suddenly alert to their unfamiliar surroundings. Gabriel frowned, leaning forward to address the driver. Marcus, this isn't the route to the safe house. The driver didn't respond, continuing to navigate the deserted industrial zone. Marcus? Gabriel's voice sharpened with command. Stop the car, now. Instead, the vehicle accelerated, tires squealing as it took a sharp turn into what appeared to be an abandoned loading yard. Gabriel's expression hardened as he reached for his gun, only to find the shoulder holster empty. He'd left his weapon locked in the safe at his apartment. Get down, he ordered Sophia, already lunging for the driver. But it was too late. The car skidded to a halt and suddenly the doors were wrenched open from outside. Powerful hands grabbed Sophia, dragging her from the vehicle as she screamed and fought. Through the chaos, she glimpsed Gabriel struggling against two large men, his face contorted with rage and effort. Sophia! He shouted before a blow to his head silenced him. Then something soft pressed against her face, a cloth with a sickly sweet chemical smell. Sophia held her breath, still struggling, but her lungs eventually betrayed her. As she gasped involuntarily, darkness swept over her consciousness like a tide, pulling her under into oblivion. Her last thought before the world went black was of Gabriel's eyes, dark with concern, not for himself, but for her. Sophia awoke to the sound of water dripping. Her head pounded with the lingering effects of whatever drug they'd used to subdue her, and her mouth felt like it was stuffed with cotton. Keeping her eyes closed, she assessed her situation, hands bound behind her back, seated on what felt like a wooden chair. The air smelled of damp concrete and rust. I know you're awake, a familiar voice said from nearby. Your breathing changed. She opened her eyes to find Gabriel seated across from her, similarly bound to a chair. A nasty cut above his eyebrow had left a trail of dried blood down the side of his face, but his eyes were clear and alert. Where are we? She whispered, scanning their surroundings, a large, empty space with high ceilings and exposed pipes. Some kind of abandoned factory or warehouse. One of Anton's properties, I believe. An old manufacturing plant on the east side. Gabriel tested his restraints, the ropes creaking but holding firm. Are you hurt? Sophia shook her head, wincing at the resulting throb of pain. Just drugged. You? I've had worse. His attempt at a reassuring smile didn't reach his eyes. I'm sorry, Sophia. Marcus has been with me for 8 years. I never suspected. Anton must have gotten to him, she replied, not interested in blame. How long have we been here? A few hours at most. It's still dark outside. He nodded toward a high window where faint moonlight filtered through grime-covered glass. Sophia processed this information. Marta will realize something's wrong when we don't meet her. Yes, but she won't know where to look, Gabriel said grimly, and she'll be focused on keeping Marco safe. The implications hung heavily between them. No immediate rescue was coming. Whatever Anton had planned, they would face it alone. So we escape ourselves, Sophia declared with more confidence than she felt. A genuine smile touched Gabriel's lips this time. I admire your spirit, Sophia, but these bindings are professional work. Before she could respond, a heavy metal door clanged open at the far end of the warehouse. Anton strode in, flanked by 2 armed guards. Gone was the veneer of civility from the council meeting. His face was a mask of cold determination as he approached. "Cousin," he greeted Gabriel with mock politeness. "I trust the accommodations aren't too uncomfortable." "Anton," Gabriel replied evenly, "this is beneath even you. The council will never accept your leadership after this." Anton shrugged, circling their chairs like a predator. "The council will believe whatever evidence is presented to them. By morning, they'll have proof that you attempted to flee with family assets, only to meet with a tragic accident." He stopped before Sophia, studying her with clinical detachment. "As for Elena's miraculous daughter, I admit you surprised me. For 20 years I believed you were dead only to discover Antonio had spirited you away." "You killed my mother," Sophia stated, the certainty suddenly crystallizing in her mind. "And my father." Anton's smile was chilling. "Technically, I arranged your mother's death, your father's too, much later. Necessity, not pleasure, I assure you." The casual admission of murdering her parents hit Sophia like a physical blow, but she refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing her pain. "Why? What did my mother do to you?" "She existed," Anton replied simply. "Elena was brilliant, charismatic, the natural choice to lead after the old guard stepped down. I would have been forever in her shadow. Then you were born, cementing her claim to leadership through bloodline." "So you arranged her accident," Gabriel said, disgust evident in his voice. "A simple mechanical failure," Anton confirmed with a dismissive wave. "It would have been perfect if Marco hadn't been following her that day. Standard security protocol that I'd overlooked. He saw my men ensuring the job was done properly." "But you didn't know about me," Sophia realized. "That my father had taken me away." "A complication," Anton acknowledged. "When I learned Antonio had disappeared with you, I assumed he'd seek protection from rivals, use you as leverage. When that didn't happen, I concluded you both must have died in hiding." "Until recently," Gabriel prompted. Anton's expression darkened. "Until I found an old photograph in Elena's personal effects, showing her, Antonio, and their infant daughter. A daughter with a very distinctive birthmark." Sophia instinctively tried to reach for her right shoulder, where a small, crescent-shaped birthmark had always drawn unwanted attention. Her bound hands prevented the movement, but Anton noticed anyway. "Yes, that one," he confirmed. "Imagine my surprise when I saw that same mark on a waitress at Donatello's, Elena's favorite restaurant. The resemblance was striking once I looked properly." "So you arranged to have me killed along with Gabriel," Sophia concluded. "Tying up loose ends." "Precisely." Anton checked his watch with the air of a businessman wrapping up a meeting. "And now, as much as I've enjoyed this family reunion, it's time to conclude our business." He nodded to one of his guards, who stepped forward and placed a silver briefcase on a nearby table. The other guard moved to a corner of the warehouse, attaching what looked like small devices to support beams. "Explosives," Gabriel explained, seeing Sophia's questioning look. "He's going to make it look like an accident." "A tragic gas leak," Anton confirmed. "The abandoned factory where you foolishly came to collect hidden funds before fleeing the country. Such a shame." Sophia's mind raced, desperately seeking options. She subtly tested her restraints again, feeling the ropes bite into her wrists. "The council won't believe it," Gabriel warned. "Marta has already found Marco. His testimony will never be heard," Anton interrupted smoothly. "My men are tracking them as we speak. By dawn, all loose ends will be eliminated." Sophia caught Gabriel's eye, seeing the same realization she'd reached. Anton intended to kill not just them but Marta and Marco as well. Anyone who could challenge his version of events. "You've thought of everything," she acknowledged, hoping to keep Anton talking while she worked at the ropes binding her wrists. "Except one thing." Anton raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" "My mother's necklace," Sophia replied, nodding toward the emerald pendant she still wore. "Family heirloom, isn't it? Strange that you'd leave such valuable evidence on my body." Anton frowned, approaching her with renewed interest. "I hadn't noticed you wearing it at the council meeting. How did you get it?" "Marta had access to my mother's things," Sophia explained, buying time as she felt the rope begin to give slightly. Apparently, it's quite valuable, not just monetarily, but historically. This caught Anton's full attention. What do you mean? Marta said it was given to the first Conti matriarch by her husband, a symbol of the family bloodline, Sophia improvised, relieved to see Anton's obvious interest. Wouldn't want that lost in an explosion, would you? Anton reached for the pendant, lifting it from her collarbone with unexpected gentleness. I'd forgotten about this. Elena wore it constantly. While his attention was focused on the necklace, Sophia caught Gabriel's gaze again. He gave an almost imperceptible nod, understanding her strategy. You should take it, Sophia suggested, forcing vulnerability into her voice. Before you finish this, for the family legacy. Anton studied her face, suspicion warring with greed. Uncharacteristically generous of you. I'm going to die anyway, she replied bitterly. What do I care about a necklace? After a moment's consideration, Anton reached behind her neck to unfasten the clasp. As he leaned close, Sophia made her move. With every ounce of strength she possessed, she drove her forehead into Anton's face. The satisfying crunch of cartilage and his howl of pain told her she'd broken his nose. Simultaneously, Gabriel launched himself forward, chair and all, colliding with one of the guards. Sophia's partially loosened ropes finally gave way as she wrenched her hands free. She grabbed the heavy silver briefcase from the table and swung it with all her might at the second guard who was raising his weapon toward Gabriel. The impact sent the guard staggering backward, his shot going wide. Gabriel, still bound to the chair, had somehow managed to knock his guard to the ground and was struggling to reach the man's fallen weapon. Anton recovered more quickly than Sophia anticipated, lunging at her with blood streaming from his ruined nose. She ducked under his grasp, scrambling toward the guard's fallen gun. Her fingers had just closed around the weapon when Anton seized her ankle, yanking her backward. Sophia rolled, bringing the gun up, but Anton knocked it from her hand before she could aim. You Conti women, he snarled, pinning her to the floor with his superior weight, hands closing around her throat. Always thinking you're smarter than everyone else. Sophia fought for breath as his thumbs pressed into her windpipe. Through darkening vision, she saw Gabriel still struggling with both guards, unable to help her. This was it. After discovering her true identity, reconnecting with her heritage, finding unexpected allies and unexpected feelings, her journey would end here, at the hands of the man who'd orphaned her. No. The refusal rose from some deep, primal part of her being. She would not die like this. With the last of her strength, Sophia drove her knee upward, connecting solidly with Anton's groin. His grip loosened just enough for her to draw a desperate breath and twist sideways. As Anton doubled over in pain, Sophia scrambled away, lunging once more for the gun. This time her fingers closed around the grip with certainty. She rolled to her back, bringing the weapon up just as Anton recovered and charged toward her. The gunshot echoed deafeningly in the cavernous space. Anton stopped mid-stride, looking down in surprise at the blooming red stain on his chest. He took one more stumbling step toward Sophia before collapsing to his knees. You shot me, he said, sounding more bewildered than angry. Elena's daughter. Shot me. For my mother, Sophia whispered, the gun steady in her hands. And my father. Anton opened his mouth as if to respond, but instead toppled sideways onto the concrete floor. Across the warehouse, Gabriel had finally freed himself from the chair and subdued both guards. He rushed to Sophia's side, gently taking the gun from her trembling hands. Sophia, he said softly, helping her to her feet. Are you all right? She stared at Anton's still form, emotions churning too chaotically to name. I killed him. You had no choice, Gabriel assured her, checking Anton's pulse with clinical detachment. He would have killed us both, then Marta and Marco. Before Sophia could respond, the warehouse door burst open again. She tensed, expecting more of Anton's men, but instead saw Marta leading a team of Gabriel's security personnel. Your tracking device, Gabriel explained, seeing Sophia's confusion. In your mother's necklace. When Anton removed it, it signaled Marta. Relief swept through Sophia in a dizzying wave. You knew? That's why you never mentioned the necklace had a tracker? A hint of his old arrogance resurfaced in Gabriel's smile. I may have omitted that detail. I needed your reaction to be genuine when suggesting Anton take it. You manipulative, Sophia began, then stopped, too exhausted for outrage. We'll discuss your trust issues later. Marta approached, taking in the scene with professional efficiency. Marco is secure at the safe house. He's willing to testify before the council about what he saw the day of Elena's accident. And the explosives? Gabriel asked, nodding toward the devices still attached to the support beams. My team is handling them, Marta assured him. We need to leave, now. As they exited the warehouse, Sophia felt the weight of the night's events pressing down on her. She had discovered her true identity, confronted her parents' murderer, and taken a life, all within the span of days. Gabriel's arm around her waist supported her as they walked to the waiting vehicles. It's over, Sophia. You're safe now. She looked up at him, studying the strong lines of his face, now softened with concern for her. Is it really over? What happens next? That, he said gently, is entirely up to you. Dawn was breaking as they drove away from the warehouse, painting the sky in hues of gold and amber, the same colors Sophia had admired from Gabriel's penthouse what seemed like a lifetime ago. The council will need to be informed, Marta was saying from the front seat. With Marco's testimony and evidence from Anton's devices, your position is secure, Gabriel. And Sophia's identity? Gabriel asked, his hand still holding hers in the space between them. Marta glanced at them in the rearview mirror, a knowing expression crossing her features. Confirmed beyond doubt. The daughter of Elena Conti has returned to take her rightful place. I haven't decided what my rightful place is, Sophia interjected. I'm still processing everything. Of course, Gabriel said quickly. No one expects you to make decisions immediately. You have time. The car fell silent as they drove through the awakening city. Sophia watched the familiar streets through new eyes. No longer an anonymous waitress struggling to make rent, but Sofia Vassallo Conti, heir to a complex legacy of power and responsibility. Where to? Marta asked as they approached a major intersection. The safe house, the penthouse? Gabriel looked to Sophia, clearly leaving the choice to her. Wherever you'll feel most comfortable. Sophia considered her options, suddenly aware that her tiny apartment with its futon and hot plate no longer existed as a sanctuary. That life had been incinerated the moment Gabriel walked into Donatello's and she'd decided to warn him. Your place, she decided, surprising herself. The real one, not the penthouse. Gabriel's eyes warmed with something that might have been hope. Are you sure? No, she admitted with a small smile. I'm not sure about anything right now, but I feel safe with you, despite everything. His fingers tightened around hers. I'll never let anyone harm you again, Sophia. That's one promise I can make with absolute certainty. As the car turned toward Gabriel's private residence, Sophia felt something unfamiliar unfurling in her chest. Not quite peace, but perhaps its precursor. Hope. She had lost so much. Her parents, her identity, the simple life she'd constructed. But perhaps she had gained something too. Family. Truth. And whatever this undefined connection with Gabriel might become. What are you thinking? He asked softly, studying her profile in the morning light. Sophia turned to meet his gaze, allowing herself to acknowledge the attraction that had simmered between them since that first night at the restaurant. I'm thinking, she said carefully, that when my father said, remember who you are, he wasn't just talking about my name or my heritage. He meant something deeper. The person you are inside, Gabriel suggested. Beyond names and titles. Sophia nodded, squeezing his hand. I'm still figuring out exactly who that is, but I think I'd like to discover it with you beside me. The smile that transformed Gabriel's face was like sunrise breaking through clouds, brilliant, warm, and full of promise. I'd like that too, he said simply. As the car pulled into the private garage beneath Gabriel's building, Sophia felt the first genuine peace she'd experienced since overhearing those fateful words at Donatello's. The journey ahead would be complex, filled with challenges and adjustments as she navigated her new identity and heritage. But for the first time since her father's death, she wasn't facing that journey alone. Whatever came next, whatever she decided about her role in the Conti organization, her relationship with Gabriel, her future, she would face it with truth, with family, and with the strength that was her true inheritance from both her parents. Sofia Vassallo Conti had finally come home.